Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them and I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. So, we are going to be looking at Marc Silvestri's first volume of Cyberforce. Now, I'm using the trade paperback. I have the original issues in uh with me, but I have not looked at these in years. I probably haven't looked at them since the 90s, not even in digital. Now, I am going to make a confession to you. We're not going to read these. I can't even remember what the freaking plot is. We are simply going to look at Marc Silvestri's art from way back then when he left Marvel to help co create Image Comics in 1992. I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't know who any of these guys are except for the Wolverine wannabe. I think that's Ripclaw. Everybody else, I just don't remember, and I don't care enough to look at it. We are or to look who they are. We're simply going to look at the art. I off the stuff at that time, I bought Youngblood, I bought Spawn, I bought Wildcats, and I bought Cyberforce. I didn't buy Dragon. I still don't. I didn't buy Shadowhawk. I could care less about Jim Valentino. Sorry. Um, and even then, I dropped off the Rob Liefeld crap, and it just stuck with Silvestri, Lee, and McFarlane. The problem is that all three of them quit drawing, and then I ended up quitting Image Comics completely because I was in it for them. And so, in a way, I still am. So, we are going to look. Again, I am using this trade paperback. So, you will have to forgive me. And so, we are simply going to look at the art. So here we go. Cyberforce #1. Here we go. So, definitely showing what we fell in love with when he was doing X-Men and Wolverine. And I don't know, obviously they're chasing this little girl, but man, oh man, Silvestri is absolutely remarkable. He does beautiful work. And so, look at this image. Wow, wow, wow. Very, very pretty. This is what became the house style that DC and Marvel, after they left, they're like, draw this. And so every artist had to draw like Jim Lee, like Marc Silvestri, like Todd McFarlane. That was the mandate. So, all right. I'm not even going to try to tell you what the story is because I don't care. I don't know if I even really read these issues when they first came out because I just loved this. I just loved Marc Silvestri, and I wanted to be a part of this. So I bought these issues when they came out because I love Marc Silvestri and Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee. So these guys made it on their own. They showed they didn't need the this Hulk wannabe here. Is this Maul? Oh, Impact. Okay, yeah, Maul is from Wildcat. See, that is so this is so 90s. Um, they this only works for superstar artists. I don't think this works for any Joe of the Mill kind of what a great pose here kind of artist. So not everybody makes it. But the elite do. Unfortunately, these guys really quit drawing. They just became corporate studio heads and basically turned Image Comics into just another studio. Um, Now they own it, so that's good. But essentially, what we went into Image Comics for is, you know, we were sold a bag of goods, but these weren't characters that we had any kind of relationship to. So, um, when the artist leaves, in this case, I think this kid's a robot. Um, they the you know so do most readers, and so I checked out once. I wasn't gonna buy Cyberforce just because there was no Marc Silvestri. Now I've gone back and actually gotten some of them because David Finch took over. Now at that time, David Finch was just a Marc Silvestri clone, but he has now become an elite guy under his own, Scott Williams being the inker here. Um so um and I like David Finch, but back then I was like, who the hell is this guy? So um same thing with Michael Turner. Who the hell is he? J. Scott Campbell. Who the hell is he? So now in time they became. This is such a wonderful image. In time they became, you know, powers in their own right, but it takes a while for I think before. I mean, you can tell right away that someone is special, but you don't know if they're gonna become um, famous, especially in the studio system. Out of those names that I listed, with David Finch and Michael Turner, J. Scott Campbell, those are three. But keep in mind that these studio systems that these guys had, they were had a ton of these different artists. And so not all of them took. I think Dan Panosian was with Liefeld, but Dan Panosian draws nothing like what he was drawing during this time. So a lot of cross hatching. And then I say this when I'm covering Uncanny X-Men. Look at this freaking jawline. So Marc Silvestri can draw. That is for freaking sure. So as I'm following this, I am even trying to remember what the heck the story was even about back in the day, and I just don't. I don't, and I don't care. Look at this. He's working out his cybernetic arm. How freaking ridiculous is that? Ah, that is so 90s. So is all this cross hatching. Um, it is definitely a sign of the time. Um, Marc Silvestri though has gotten even more hatchy. Um, if I think the last thing that he really drew was the Batman Joker, and that thing is a cross hatching. Wow, it's just incredible. Silvestri can still draw beautifully, but man, oh man, does this say early 90s? Oh man, I really miss his drawing, and even here you can tell that I don't think he drew. You can tell in some of these panels that he had, like, I think he had somebody else. I don't know. There's some pages here that don't quite look Silvestri-ish. Well, I mean, they look Silvestri-ish, but not quite that he drew them. This one in particular here. I think it was already getting a studio system and paying assistants. And so, like I said, we're gonna look at the first, I think, 5 issues. Um, and then we'll do more next time. But look at that. That is, man, I couldn't draw like this even if I, oh man, even if I tried and sit down, I'm like, what the heck? The poses I could get, but the whole hatchy style is not my style, so I don't do hatchy. But this is kind of cool. These characters look beautiful. They definitely look beautiful. As I mentioned before, I have no idea what the friggin' story is here, but um I mean, it's a story, I'm sure. And if you loved these issues as a kid, I'm not crapping on them, but I'm just saying that there's just no substance to these types of stories. But they're high action, high octane type things. But I was in it to look at the freaking pretty pictures. And so sometimes with comic books, we just look at the pretty pictures, and that is exactly what we're going to do. So, because I just don't remember about the story and I don't care enough. And so I'm sure there's a channel out there that is covered the story. So maybe I don't know. I looked on YouTube, and a lot of people just kind of um have, I don't know. I think this is okay. So I think this is the last one. I think 4. So it's not 5. I think it's this one. Um, because then Simonson, I think, does issue 0, and then Silvestri does a 2-part story with Wildcats. We'll see. We'll see how much time we got. We're only at 12 minutes, so man, it's beautiful. Um, these are beautiful pages, and I think that is the importance. Um, yeah, I've been looking at this and I'm like, yeah, I haven't looked at these. Like I said, even in digital form, I haven't looked at these since the freaking 90s. You know what? That's not true. When I first downloaded them in digital, I sort of looked at them, but not like this. Um, I so here in this panel, it sort of looks like, and I know that this is Ripclaw's arm, but if you follow the red dude here, it almost looks like his arm is continuing here, but his arm is down here. I forgot what this is called, but it almost looks like the arm sort of continues this way. Man, look at all that hatchy hatch. Wow. Man. I'm telling you, when I was a teenager, I was eating this up. Just could not get enough of it. And neither could anybody else, because these issues sold bangers. But these guys just couldn't keep it going. And although they're successful, because of a lot of things that they have done, these comic books really are. I know Marc Silvestri has gone back to the darkness, and we're gonna do the darkness as well as doing pretty much what we're doing here. And I know The Darkness actually was written by Garth Ennis, so it's actually a better story. But um, maybe I'll read it. I don't know. But he's writing it. He's not drawing it. A lot of these guys are just not drawing anymore, and that is a shame. That is a shame, 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 shame. So, and so this ends the first four issues. What are we at? 15 minutes? All right. I'll keep going. So, we're going to look at a 4-page story from image number 0, which is the origin of Stryker. And that was that four-headed guy. And he um, inked it himself. And these it's very weird seeing him ink himself for essentially the first time. And now I think he uses a one of those very fine pencils. And yeah, so here we go. The only reason I know it's Stryker is because it's got his name nice and bolded there. But the I think it's funny that he was working out the um so he's got 3 arms on one side and just his normal arm on that. That is that is something. All right, so this meets with uh, Jim Lee's. Did this meet with Jim Lee's? Uh, yeah, it does. So this is the volume 2 of the second series. Is this him? Um, Almost looks like him. See, he started the studio system, so now things are going to start to get a little muddled. And so I believe he is credited as the penciler um, of this issue, but you can definitely tell that not quite. But that is part of this studio system thing. So and so yeah, I think we're almost done with just him drawing. He doesn't stick around too long for that second volume, and you can definitely see now that the art is changing. So, yeah, I don't think he drew all these. Maybe he laid them out because it still looks like his art, but in a way, I don't know. He must have gotten a really good clone if it didn't. So I think he might be laying out the story because some areas still look like him. Still, I was eating this up as a kid. Yeah. What do you guys think? I think that that's not him. That is definitely not him. So we'll keep going here. All right, so this is the Wildcats one. So let me pause. Okay, so then we go back into the Marc Silvestri era. So because they're putting in the entire Wildcats crossover, so that's why that other one was the Jim Lee one. So, and the thing is that he is credited as, if I remember correctly, he was credited as the penciler, but you can definitely tell that he's already having someone else go in there. But some of these images are just so cool. You can tell this one is definitely him. The problem is this hatching thing just made for a lot of people that can just go in there and sort of copy. So, and I mean, in a way, it's good, but when people are buying things expecting one guy, so. but I think this is almost it. I don't think this is just covering a lot of Cyberforce, but he doesn't draw a lot of this. So believe we're almost reaching the end. I think he bails out right after the this crossover. We'll see. Man, I have not read these. And we're going to do the same thing with Wildcats. Wildcats, I'm going to do just like this for Jim Lee's Pretty Art, because Wildcats is another book. I actually look more at Wildcats than I do at the Cyberforce. So, and let's see. Oh, that's Jim Lee again. So I'll give it a pause. I tell you, during this time, Jim Lee and Marc Silvestri were practically almost clones of each other. It took I'm like, is this Mark? And yes, it is. So Marc Silvestri has the same thing in which he's got an assistant here. So this entire book is not him, but it's very minimal here. This is definitely not him, but this is. I think it is. It's just really hard to tell. So I know that during this era he was credited as the penciler. So, but man, was this Hatchy Hatch era? Oh my gosh. I call it the Image era. Even at Marvel and DC, it was definitely, um, it was definitely the Image era. Image took everything by storm. It is undeniable what the influence of Image Comics in the 1990s was to Marvel and DC. When you look at the things that Marvel Comics was doing and DC Comics. So, for example, in DC Comics, you've got that Aquaman. This isn't him. He definitely didn't draw that panel or those 2 pages there. And you look at that grim and gritty era. That is what came out during this. And so I believe, I keep saying, but I believe this is the I don't know. We'll just keep going until we run out of his. That is, wow, that is awesome. And so that grim and gritty. I mean, you look at the Avengers during this time. You look at Thor. You look at Aquaman for DC. Just full of this kind of stuff. This is what permeated comics during the a bunch of the 90s. I mean, even to like the mid 90s, 96 and 97. Eventually, though, we would go into then the Joe Madureira era of things. That's where J. Scott Campbell. So what these are is, I've always found it funny that in the digital they don't cut these, but these are supposed to be breaks because there's double for the double page spreads, so that they run together. So that's what they are. And so that is a wonderful image. Wow. It is just amazing. And I feel bad for not having looked at these because this is wonderful art. But I will never read. I don't know. It's just not interested in this type of storytelling. It's kind of hollow. It's basically the whole point is to look at the nice art, and so that's what we're gonna do. So, all right, let's see. Does he still going? think he is. Mm, I don't know. I don't know. You can definitely tell that there's assistance here. He's building that strong studio system that everybody basically he gets clones and he's like draw like me, and so that is an awesome image. And when you bought these, we are gunmen. And when you buy this is exactly why you're buying. You know what you're getting even back then. And so that is why Marvel and DC were pretty much copying, because they're like, well, this is what you want. We'll give this to you. So one of the things Marc Silvestri does, let me go back to this, is he does the long legs. If she were to stand up straight, these legs are like, she'd be like 9 feet tall. So, man. For those of you who grew up during this era, does this bring back memories? It sure does to me. So, wow. This is beautiful art. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful art. All right. He is not doing this cover. So, does he do the inside? I don't know. Let me check here. So I checked, and he is credited as the penciler all the way to issue 11, but he has a ton of assistants, and the main two assistants are David Finch and Michael Turner. So so it is very difficult here to know, but you can definitely tell the ones that he is not drawing. This is not him, but he is credited as the main penciler all the way to issue 11, although one of these issues is going to be done by McFarlane, which I won't cover in this uh book, or in this video. I'll cover that one's going to be covered on its own um in its own thing. So yeah, that's this is definitely so this page looks like him, but that other one was not. So we're sort of getting Silvestri light, but we'll go all the way to issue 11. He does, I think 10 is with Chris Claremont, but I haven't been reading any of these, so there's no point in reading that one. But he does do a collaboration with Chris Claremont for a single issue. Jim Lee, I think, did 4 in Wildcats, and it is unfortunate that Chris Claremont did never took advantage of this Image era. Imagine him partnering up with one of these. So here's issue 7. Again, there is the dude has a ton of help, but we're just gonna keep going here. That's a nice I don't know, I always like those close-ups kind of looking down. There's just interesting ways to make the face, and I think this is what made them so great, was this um just different takes to make the same thing. This is a nice image there. Looking at the dead guy there. So yeah, he definitely is getting lots and lots and lots of help. here, but he's still doing some heavy lifting. But the studio system is in full bloom. Let me pay you to just do some stuff here. So, and then he's got a shit ton of inkers that are in each issue. So a lot of these, I think he's having a hard time trying to keep um, that monthly grind. Plus, you know, doing the studios. So this is the McFarlane issue. So I will be skipping this. When I do the McFarlane issue, you are going to see that. So this one is with Claremont, I believe. Um, that Chris Claremont. So he does. Does he do two with Claremont? I don't know. I think he does 9 and 10. So um, anyway, yeah, that's not him here. I think this is Michael Turner, and that is weird. He's credited as as well a penciler here, so we'll just keep going. But yeah, that's this one could be him. I don't know. He's got so many clones, and so anyway, my on the McFarlane one, which I haven't covered yet, of course, because I skipped it here. This isn't him. Um, yeah, Chris Claremont is writing. This is one of Claremont's um written issues. Too bad he couldn't do this one with him. But he does, well, he does most of it. So anyway, um McFarlane looked like he had help too. These guys just are running a business and realizes that drawing comic books is just taking too much of their time. So, but pretty cool here with Chris Claremont writing. Maybe I will dedicate um, a video to just the Huntsman issues here, and so yeah, that's not him. So all right, and so which issue is this? Number 10. So he goes all the way to 11. So great cover, by the way. That is a cool cover. So that Huntsman is a Chris Claremont creation. So Chris Claremont is co-writing this, or not co-writing. He's writing it in full. So and him and Michael Turner are doing this issue. So, but this is early Michael Turner clone to Marc Silvestri Michael Turner. So and so we'll go to issue 11 and then we'll be done. We will be have been done with the Marc Silvestri um era of the lettering is, by the way, Tom Orzechowski. Um we will be then concluded with Marc Silvestri for Cyberforce, but I definitely want to do some more Marc Silvestri because I think he is an incredible artist and he is a great penciler, and I think that it's worth looking at his stuff. Unfortunately, we have to look at other people's stuff too, and not that it's bad, but you know, unfortunately, it is the nature of the beast that was the studio system. So we don't really get a full Marc Silvestri thing, but we got mostly Marc Silvestri. So, and I think we have one more issue to go, and issue 11. So after this, it is David Finch's book. David Finch essentially takes over. Jim Lee, this is a nice one. So Jim Lee leaves Wildcats, and Travis Charest takes over, and Marc Silvestri leaves the Cyberforce, and David Finch takes over. But This is a good goodbye issue. I think it's still Chris Claremont writing because the Huntsman is in there, and so yeah, too bad Chris Claremont did nothing with this dude. Had potential, but hey, you can't do nothing with him. Then so be it. So all right. So like I said, this is not all drawn by him, but this is the last issue that he essentially touches the internal area. So and almost done. It is the last issue, unless it was double sized. So yeah, that's not him. And is this kind of the goodbye for him? Yep, this is it. So, we basically did Cyberforce 1 through 4, the first book, the first volume, and then Cyberforce 1 through 11 for the volume number 2. Mostly, I think 80% of everything we saw was Marc Silvestri. So this page is, I don't think it's him, but I mean, sometimes in the eyes, but these guys are cloning, so I don't think this is him. But anyway, there we go. Cyberforce by Marc Silvestri. Like and subscribe. I do thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.